Sir, shall we start, sir?
I think sir's screen is not visible. There is a black.
Yeah, I think some net issues.
Now he's visible. Yes, sir.
Right. Now it is streaming on YouTube. The most eagerly awaited session of NeuroRehabCon. Because one thing is here clear. Perfect. The stroke NeuroRehabCon has always been the most talked about topic among all the participants who attended versus those who received the videos versus those who saw the moments and the pictures captured. In every level, there was contribution of one person who was there before and also even until now supporting the academy, that is Dr. Krishna Kumar. Because of his technical expertise and also his dedicated passion that he should travel all the way from Chennai and he has to reach Pune. The event was definitely supported strongly, and we all had the best time inspiring each other. So when it comes to lectures, we have already previously itself we have scheduled Dr. Darshana's, Dr. Ritu's and Krishna's, and we just saw that after attending the NeuroRehabCon, they felt that we should update the PPT, we should add some contents, we should make it different. It's like Ritu ma'am doing case webinars, Ritu ma'am doing PPTs means other people gets an idea that yes, we can also improvise, we can make it better. Moment Ritu ma'am and Darshana has made means Krishna gets inputs and he wants to make it better, because it is like some days are there when we are too much occupied with the day. We had too many things to do, but all the things we were successful. We were happily completing that. In such a day, for example, yesterday it was like that for Ritu ma'am. You will feel more happy, more fulfillment in life. And that time, you will not want the day to end. You will not like to just retire off and then go and sleep. You will feel like, I want to see how much more I can do. Okay. So similar to that spirit of seeing the best of yourself is what the effort that made this presentation. Especially, we always laud the efforts of Krishna because he does it with his own style. His own style of I can say that it is technically and also as listening from the younger generation physio, emerging physio. So it is always good that we have this session, and this session definitely will be moderated by Ritu ma'am. Madam is the moderator for all the sessions other than her own session. So now I'll request Ritu ma'am to take over and introduce Dr. Krishna and hand over the proceedings to the presentation. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. So good evening, everyone, and welcome once again that we are back with our last session of this Pune conclave, which will be like all we say that if end is well, then everything is well. The same thing is going to be because Dr. Krishna sir, he is the Sachin Tendulkar of AOMPT. So he is going to make a century today because his presentation is completely a dynamic and in a kinetic mode, and he is going to present a neuromanual therapy in a very different way. So you will enjoy the session also because there is a learning and there are so many new things. Either he is adding the PNF or the proprioception according to the neuromanual therapy, how we can beautifully utilize the neuromanual therapy position itself according to the upper limb and lower limb position with the kinetic mode. So because he is like sir is saying, he is a very our young convener, so he is presenting his presentation in a dynamic mode also. So I'm really happy to see that Krishna sir is coming with the full enthusiasm today here. And we will all want to learn more about the neuromanual therapy, because whenever the people will talk about the neuromanual therapy, the flag of AOMPT always goes in a high level, because people know that NMT is the signature approach of our AOMPT. So we know that how differently we can use neuromanual therapy in each and every condition. Either the patient is having a myofascial pain, then we can go through the neural components. If the patient is having a articular problem, then how we can enter in the articular part with the neural way, how we can facilitate also. And how the patient with the stroke, the beauty of neuromanual therapy is how beautifully the sir has explained in the Pune conclave, how we can utilize the activity functional goal of the patient by applying the neuromanual therapy according to their restriction of their functional activity, either the trunk or upper limb or the lower limb, or with the head movement. So this is the thing which the neuromanual therapy make the patient better by applying a neuromanual therapy in a right manner. So either you want to take with the PNF, you can add the neuromanual therapy, or Bhubath you can add, or like, and more, many more things Krishna sir has added in his presentation that we will see it. So good luck to Krishna sir. Please take your part and upload your slide so that we can learn more about the neuromanual therapy, how beautifully you have applying for your patient. And definitely the way he is applying, definitely patient will recover, because the base is completely the neuromanual therapy, the how to apply the nerve mobilization, how the condition itself, the neurodynamic position itself, he is giving to his patient. So this is the thing, because when your base is strong now, then you can make many routes from to reaching your destiny. So this is the way that Krishna sir is like, he will Sachin Tendulkar like style, he will give the sixer and the 4 runs, and sometimes there is a need to run, to take the run by running. So the same thing is going to taking by the Krishna sir. So welcome Krishna sir. Definitely you are the future of AOMPT, because as you are learning or as you are applying to your patient simultaneously, so that will give you a more confidence, and this will give us a evidence for our practice also. So good luck to you, and please start sharing your screen and take the platform for open this platform for you today. Thank you sir. Welcome. Yes sir, Krishna sir, please share.
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yeah, perfectly fine sir. Right tune.
Is there any dual device, phone and laptop nearby? Krishna's, both are logged in? Anything? No, not logged in. The microphone, that keying sound came. I don't know from where.
I don't know,
Okay.
sir.
So just check. Yeah, okay. No problem. You can load your PPT.
Okay.
His voice itself, it comes with a boom when he's talking. Yeah.
Is it clear?
Yes.
Sir, I hope it is very clear.
Yeah, fine.
First of all, thank you for the academy, and thank you so much, sir, for believing in me and giving this opportunity to take this seminar. And this seminar is supposed to be taken during the NeuroConclave, where I thought of preparing slowly on PNF, like sir said. After that, like AOMPT made my brain to become fluid. It's not like something which makes you a memory machine. Instead, AOMPT makes people to think. So it is very special, and like sir always encouraged to come up with our own techniques. And definitely, it's sir's encouragement to my focus is to improvise what I've learned. And thank you for Ritu ma'am and Darshana ma'am. Like throughout, Ritu ma'am gave her presentations and her guidance, motivation for everything to make this presentation. And also Darshana ma'am also advised me to keep it simple, don't make it very complicated. And all those inputs really, it helped me to make the things very streamlined. Thank you so much, ma'am. I think my PPT is visible, ma'am, completely. Is it any
Yes.
interference in the
Yes.
middle?
Everything is fine.
Okay, very good. First, I just want to give an introduction why I'm going to uh, use PNF as an adjunct to neuromanual therapy. So I also put a question mark whether it is a progressive to the neuromanual therapy. After seeing this, you have to decide whether it is an adjunct or really helps to support the therapy. Okay, I thought definitely PNF when combined with neuromanual therapy, I strongly believe it will be the best results. And while SR was taking a stroke neuro rehab con, all those sessions, master classes, I was very concerned and also very curious to explore how the neuromanual therapy is very good for stroke. Also, I also studied few researchers which also supported that very strongly, and it is very efficient. So I want to make it keep it simple. So like it is like just adding two things together. But in AOMPT, SAR adds at the same time 10 things, and even you can add up to 100 or 1,000 things together. So I just made a simple attempt to combine few things which could really contribute for the better treatment. So in this presentation, I'll go on with the PNF principles first, and uh, in small introduction about neuromanual therapy, and after that, how to apply and all the miscellaneous stuffs followed by it. Okay, first we'll see about the small introduction and definitions of proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation, that is PNF. So we all know the rehabilitation is a broad spectrum, and there are so many things for rehabilitating stroke. So this thing is going to be very specific, and definitely we can use these techniques judiciously in a specific aspect where it is required to make the desired outcome. So let's start. Proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation is a rehabilitation technique. Uses proprioception to facilitate neuromuscular system to produce desired movement or motor function. So that is a definition actually. But along the years, PNF developed, and many non-proprioceptive stimuli or facilitation is also added to the PNF. So there is small history. Herman Gabat, 1940, along with Margaret Knott, together they developed the PNF. Of course, uh, before Herman Gabat, how he might have got this idea is from the works of Charles Sherrington. We'll see about him, uh, where he found neurophysiology. This neurophysiological principle really helped Herman Gabat to come up with these techniques. He's a physician. So it is initially practiced in ortho-neuro-cardiopulmonary conditions. Later, Dorothy was and became, and Margaret and Dorothy together they published PNF books, and today it has grown many folds. Let us see the philosophy or the principles of PNF. So PNF have untapped existing, humans have untapped existing potential. So we have to first believe that our ability or in our potential to make something uh, possible or to bring out. So constantly we can work on making the patient's condition better. So there is always a scope of further improvement in functional gain. So there are three important principles, or we can say mindsets or thoughts in the PNF. Like it is an integrated approach. It's not body doesn't work singularly or at one thing. It always works together and not as a specific part or a specific. We should not address it as a specific problem. Instead, we should see it in a very integrated manner so that we can get an holistic idea. And positive mental attitude, definitely we have to believe what in our techniques and believe in our treatment so that uh, it should be very positive so that we can bring improvement to the patient. So without that positive mental attitude, without that belief, I don't think we can produce best results. So always focus on achieving highest level of function specific to the patient, and we have to try our best to bring the highest level of function possible to that particular patient. So the stroke, the emphasis of treatment is on central nervous system. So there are studies where in brain it increases the brain waves, uh, where neuromanual therapy can influence the central nervous system. Even the peripheral nervous system can influence the central nervous system. So this in the studies. So the when it comes to stroke, SAR as per SAR said, we have to cognitively load the brain. As much as we involve brain, uh, the rehabilitation will be facilitated better. So to make that, we'll use more integration. We'll talk about it later. But the thing is, maximum neuroplasticity occurs in the brain, but also neuroplasticity occurs in musculoskeletal, cardiovascular system, and all parts of the body. So as I said before, it is used in neuroortho and even cardiopulmonary, and it is indicated for muscle weakness, joint stiffness, fatigue, pain, relaxation, initiation, difficulty, coordination. The main goal is facilitation in achieving a movement or posture used to improve strength, coordination, flexibility, and also mobility. Neurophysiological principle of Charles Scott Sherrington. So he is also a Nobel Prize winner, and he got a Nobel Prize for his discovery of reciprocal inhibition or reciprocal innervation. So he found out some neurological principles. So the principle of after discharge, temporal summation, spatial summation, irradiation, successive induction, reciprocal inhibition, or autogenic inhibition. So why do you want to learn all these principles? To come up and use this principle and to apply it in our therapy. So the main aim is the better we know about the principle, we can better use it to uh, use it and apply as a therapeutic technique. So that's why we are learning more about the principle now. Okay. Principle of after discharge. So like I just want to imagine a muscle after it is very gross, but after our workout or work exercise session, we'll feel energized. Of course, it is metabolic and all other stuff, but the thing is, when we give any stimulus, it gives an effect or response. So when we stop our stimulus, still the effect is there. So even after the stimulus, even after we give a stimulus to a muscle, the response is still present in the muscle. So how it can be applied? So we can either increase the intensity of the stimulus, it will increase the after discharge. So after discharge is the stimulus is still present, after the stimulus. So the more you increase the intensity, the after discharge will be more. The more the duration, the after discharge will also be more. So we'll move on to the next principle, the principle of temporal summation. So like we can say it as temporal means time, summation means addition. The high frequency stimulations or like activations will help to produce the desired response, because like it's not always we can get a response at the first time. We should constantly try again and again to get the response. It's like the same, and also it has to be very successive and repeated, and it should be at a very short interval to get a proper response. It is also same for the muscle. And here in temporal summation, we are using the repeated stimulus to get a response. So how can we use this temporal summation is in the quick succession stretch. So like we all know the stretch reflex, we'll get a stretch the moment the increase in the length of the muscle, it will produce stretch reflex. So if we use it successively, we'll get a response. Even if it's not in the first attempt, even if it's not in the second attempt, if we give successively at high frequency, we can get a response. It is from one particular neuron or one particular set of muscle. Spatial summation is using different sets of muscles or different parts, stimulus from different parts of the body, so that we can get a response. So previous slide, we are getting the response, the bar codes we can see in the presynaptic and we can see it in the postsynaptic. Here we are getting stimulus from more than one neuron. So it is several presynaptic neurons together. When it comes to a postsynaptic neuron, it produces the spatial summation. So that is a difference. So in temporal, we use successive stimulus, high frequency stimulus. In spatial summation, we use multiple stimulus from different parts of the muscles or different muscle groups. So irradiation. Irradiation is overflow of energy, occurs from strong group of muscle to weak group of muscle. So it is always, we know that synergism, like we use different parts of our, at the moment when we use one part of the body, when we try to lift something or when you try to move something, muscles which work synergistically to produce a greater strength. It assists the major muscles to produce a greater degree of strength. So irradiation works in that way. The increase in number of stimulus or increase in the strength of stimulus, it produces a greater response. So when we use major group of muscle, it also activates the muscles which are adjacent to it, or muscles which are tending to help and be helpful in assisting the movement or producing the movement. Here we can see a man who is screwing. We can also compare it with the lock. When we try to open the lock, we move our whole body together, so that we can produce a response. We are trying to open the lock only by using our grips in our hand, and also we are trying to supinate. But at the same time, when it is too hard, the overflow of the energy from our hand goes throughout the body. So we are moving our whole body to produce that one particular movement. So it is like the strength from here, it is irradiating. Of course, it is synergy. So there are like when we use the shoulder muscle bridles, trunk flexors, side flexors, contralateral shoulder elevators, and facial muscles also tend to work to produce a greater strength while we do a particular movement. So that is irradiation. So next one is successive induction. Like we seen before, when the agonist is contracted to their maximum, it's time for antagonist to fire or stimulate it. We all know that when we bend our elbow, our biceps works and our triceps flex. But after particular degree of contraction, what happens is not only our biceps, irrespective of reciprocal inhibition, triceps will also start to work. So this is by utilizing the successive induction. Turn, 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 stimulation is produced. So as I mentioned here, agonist, when it reaches the maximum stimulus, the stimulus also goes to antagonist muscle after a maximum contraction is produced. So this is the successive induction, where we can also use this to produce the activation of the desired muscle if this particular successive induction works for that particular case. So reciprocal inhibition or innervation, we use it very commonly and we are all very familiar with this. Activating certain muscle is accompanied by inhibition of antagonistic muscle. Charles Sherrington received Nobel Prize for this in 1932. Definitely, it is very useful in our clinical practice in various conditions. So this is reciprocal inhibition, one of the principles, and autogenic inhibition. So autogenic inhibition reflex is a sudden development of high tension. So all the tension is carried to the brain by Golgi tendon organ, which is present in the tendon. So which gives a negative feedback after prolonged lengthening or increased contraction. If the tension is very more, it produces relaxation. That is autogenic inhibition to that particular muscle. So generally, we all know that muscle tendon is depend on tension. The more tension or the more strain you produce, it inhibits itself to protect excessive straining of the muscle. So this autogenic inhibition, we use that in our therapeutic purposes. So till now we have seen various neurological principle and PNF principles. Now we are going to see some basic introduction about neuromanual therapy. I don't know, like everybody is familiar with that. The legends are sitting here, neuromanual therapy specialists. So with due respect to them, I should start this. Neuromanual therapy, a small introduction. Like it's a patient-centered clinical approach to recognize central peripheral mechanism and administer nerve palpation, massage, nerve sliders, tensioner in offloaded and loaded position to integrate articular myofascial technique along with the biopsychosocial model. So that is the definition for neuromanual therapy. So what really happens is a nerve can slide, glide, bend, twist. Everything can happen with respect to nerves. Nerve can move and we can mobilize it. By mobilizing it, by influencing its movement, we are getting physiological changes which is used for therapeutic purposes. So it glides and slides on nerve bed. Muscle, a joint, articulous region and ligament. So through that, nerve slides and glides. By moving that, it also improves the circulation of the nerves and also increase the strength of the muscles which is supplied by those nerves. So there are many physiological changes occurs when we mobilize a nerve through palpation or through compression or through sliders or through tension techniques. It can be produced. It can be used to produce therapeutic effects. Neuromanual therapy essentials. So all these points are said by Sir in NEUROREHABCON, which uh, which is the basis for implementing for me. As far as my understanding, I jotted down these points and what mindset I have getting these techniques and putting and implementing them, applying in for the treatment. Load on one side of the neck and palpate on palpate the median. So when we load the nerve and palpate, it is more palpable and it is we can palpate it. So neuromanual therapy in itself is a huge ocean. So many things can be done, and there are so many dysfunction, open dysfunction, closed dysfunction, sliding dysfunction, and tensile dysfunctions. Many things are there, and many neuropathic and neuritic conditions are also treated by this. So they also be aware of those things when we treat the patient. So median nerve carries sympathetic fibers, and the shoulder we have to know the shoulder hand syndrome. So when we encounter such condition, if we cannot influence our shoulder, we can use ULDT, the median nerve 2 or ULDT 2 position. And when all three joints are loaded, it is, we can say it is fully loaded. And if two joints are loaded and one is offloaded, which we can call it as preloaded. And a type of loading also, it's like we can say fully loaded or partially loaded. Neurodynamic position on one side, relief spasticity on the affected side, sustained pressure on the neck, C for the spasticity reduction. So when we compressing the output, definitely the higher centers, when it is off, lower centers take over and the muscle goes to spasticity. So common synergy patterns. So the moment when we compress and keep it, and we can see any change in the reduction of the spasticity, we can also incorporate it in our treatments. Spasticity is relieved on the neck. It is mechanosensitive, so give deep transfer friction massage on the nerves and load the affected or opposite side and see the grip strength. Sir also taught so many things in NEUROREHABCON, gripping strength with respect to wrist position, and also we'll see about it when we demonstrate the techniques. Flexibility, sliders are beneficial. Spasticity, when it comes to spasticity, tensioners are beneficial. Flaccidity, offloading, other side improves grip. Spasticity, loading, other side improves grip. Okay, now we are coming back to basics of PNF and principles. So, applications of the principles of the PNF, and also we'll try to include the neuromanometry perspective. So, we all know that our functional movement and the PNF pattern and also the neurodynamic positions. Everything, if we put it in a Venn diagram, most of them will coincide. Our functional movements and our PNF patterns and our neurodynamic positions. So the thing is, we are, instead of using the PNF patterns, we are using neurodynamic positions to treat the patients. But instead, we also know that PNF is not only stick onto the patterns, it is strongly based on its principles. So instead of using its pattern, we are going to use its neurodynamic patterns, applying PNF principles. So we'll see about the resistance now. So it is universal. We all know what is the resistance is. When we produce resistance, it will increase the contraction of this side group of muscles. So if you hold the position, if we just ask the patient to hold the position, and if you just try to push back, they will contract the abdomen. So that's what resistance does to a muscle if it is active and if it opposes the movement which is opposite. So resistance, what type of resistance we have? So we also know that isometric, isotonic, isokinetic. Isometric is this same length but increasing the tension. Isotonic is maintaining the tension and changing the length. Isokinetic, the same speed or the same velocity maintained throughout the edge of motion. Each one has its own benefits. Here we are focusing on 3 types of isotonics in PNF. So concentric isotonic, eccentric isotonic, stabilizing isotonics. When you see here, patient is sitting, high sitting, and if we ask him to reach the pen without trying to put too much effort, just an intention is set on the pen to grasp the pen. We are not encouraging him to resist too much or to try to reach the pen too much. We are gently holding the patient and asking him to reach the pen, just holding the intention to reach it. So that is stabilizing isotonics, where no movement is produced, but simply the patient is trying to reach the pen. And the second thing, when the patient is trying to reach the pen, we are allowing the patient to reach it by reducing the resistance slowly. So the muscle contracts concentrically and the patient reaches the pen. So come back to the original position where the patient is sitting and still the pen is away. Still the resistance is provided and still the abdominal muscle is contracted here. When he is going back, we have to instruct the patient, you move slowly. So the abdominal muscle is still contracted, but while he is moving back slowly, it is eccentrically contracted. So eccentric isotonic. So stabilizing isotonic, concentric isotonic, and eccentric isotonic. So there are few things we have to note while doing this. During resistant, breath should not be held by the therapist or by the patient. So what's the difference between isometric and stabilizing isotonics? Like in stabilizing isotonics, the patient is having the intention to reach. He doesn't concern about the resistance. It's just trying to reach, and the normal muscle strength which is required to reach is maintained, not uh, increasing the muscle tension according to the resistance produced. So it is like not decreasing, trying to reach more and more and more, contracting more. That is isometric. Isotonic is just setting up the intention, just maintaining the muscle contraction just enough to reach the bend. So next one is isokinetic. We all know about it. The speed is constant. So we'll move on to the irradiation and reinforcement. So we know that by pushing the patient back, the abdominal muscles contracts to maintain the position. So we want to produce more contraction of the abdominal muscle. How to bring it? We can use irradiation to bring it. So when we resist the neck flexion along with the pushing the patient back, the neck flexors will synergistically, and the irradiation goes to abdomen and helps the abdomen muscles to contract more. So it is the usage of irradiation to produce a desired muscle contraction or muscle contraction which we intend to produce. Okay, so this is what about irradiation. So irradiation from the neck muscle goes down to abdominal muscle to produce the contraction, increased contraction which we desire for manual contact. So whenever we touch a patient, whenever we stretch it, whenever we approximate and producing traction, all those things send proprioceptory signals to the brain when we move kinesthetic. So the manual contact, when we keep our hand on a joint or a muscle, the contact itself sending the impulses to the brain, which provides an increased perception of the area and helps to produce the greater muscle contraction. So another one is all this stimulus, the manual contact, the approximation, traction, can be used judiciously to treat the patient. Whenever possible, we try to integrate that. Body mechanics. So here in PNF, the therapist align with the patient so that we can maximally efficiently we can give the resistance. So aligning the shoulder and the pelvis in line with the patient, use the body weight instead of muscle force. So all these things can really like stroke rehabilitation is definitely comparatively it is strenuous on the therapist body also. So we have to be so efficient and so cautious of maintaining our strength throughout the treatment, so that we are not getting fatigued completely at the end of the session. So we have to focus on ergonomic and efficiency of the muscle energy. We have to use it judiciously by whenever we can take mechanical advantage. So whenever we have to make ourselves that our body mechanics in such a way that it uses less energy. Therapist command. So we all know that sudden increase in the voice increases the alertness and muscle contraction, and giving the command very slowly relaxes the patient and many a times makes the patient sleep. So the voice also matters. Increased voice when we ask the patient to contract, it is better to use a bold voice. Contract your muscle, contract your muscle. If you use that, definitely like it is like making the patient to sedate instead of stimulating them. So we ask the patient to contract, 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 bring in. By giving that bold voice, definitely it influences the patient for producing a better response. So volume also matters, and when we give the command, it should be understandable and it should be very clear to the patient, and the timing of the command also matters. You have to give it in the right timing so that the patient properly listens and properly understands the command and gives you the proper response that which you are expecting from the patient. Patient helps in facilitation. Sir, in many seminars said that our eye movement also uh, helps in the muscle activation. So just by moving this side, but utilizing the eye will give better response from the muscle based on the direction of the eyeball movement. So here the vision gives the feedback to the patient that whenever the patient sees his movement, good view of his own body parts and the parts which is moving, which gives the feedback to the brain. So whenever the patient is not actively participating in the treatment, we have to ask the patient to see instead of somewhere else, focus on the part which is moving, which gives better feedback to the brain. Therefore, the better recovery can be expected. Make the patient visualize the body part that is being treated. Even though if it is not visible at some time, we can ask the patient to visualize the movement which is being produced, and it is the technique by itself. We can make the patient to imagine what are imagery. We can ask the patient to imagine the movement, and even though if it is not produced, the mental training can produce the movement. Also ensure the visual contact between the therapist and the patient. The patient is more aware what is to be done if he is making proper eye contact with the patient, therapist. Stretch. So when we produce stretch, stimulates the muscle spindle and activates the reflex muscle activity. So by using this reflex itself, we can bring them the desired outcome in the patient. Stretch delivery can be given to individual muscle or the whole function pattern. It is not that we are giving to one particular muscle group and we are expecting for the muscle response. We can use the stretch as synergistically to produce the response. So it is not only stretch to a particular muscle, it can be used as a group of muscles we can use to produce the response. That here we use neurodynamic positions and neurodynamic stretches. High velocity, low amplitude. So that's the thing. When we stretch, we have to be very judicious. It is not too much. So as we mentioned before, the loading, there is full loading, partial loading, and we have to be judicious, not putting too much stress on the joint or in the on the nerve to produce very large areas stretch. Instead, we focus on low amplitude but high velocity so that we produce the optimal stretch response. Distal, proximal, or simultaneous loading. So it's on the choice of the therapist which will be utilized. Pattern, as we said before, we all know the PNF pattern, and here we are trying to um, use neurodynamic patterns. As I said before, the functional pattern and PNF pattern and neurodynamic pattern, if you put in a Venn diagram, most of the thing coincides, movements coincides, and like we move on to rhythmic initiation now. So many a times we find patient, and even in stroke, many patients have Parkinsonism and multiple neurological problems together. We can see whenever we find those people, we find it very difficult to initiate. Not only them, whenever motor control is lost, whenever the patient forgets after a very long time how to move, many times when we ask the patient to twist their ankles, like make the ankle to circumflex or to move like this, they will struggle. So because they keep the ankle very stiff and they start walking like this, and they forget about the movement itself. In all such situation, we can use this like rhythmic initiation technique. So we passively move the joint or passively move the particular part, and they act, and then we ask them to participate actively. If slowly the muscle strength is coming, we can ask them to participate and we can assist them. And after assistance, we are move on to the resisted movement instead of active. So in resisted movement, we can better control the movement. After active resisted movement, we can move to active movements. So combination of isotonics. Start the exercise from position of the range where the patient has maximum strength or coordination. So combination of isotonics, as we discussed before, concentric isotonics, eccentric isotonics, stabilizing isotonics. So here we see a picture of sir holding Sharik sir, and Darshana ma'am is also there, the picture. So where they are gliding the femoral nerve. So here we see whenever we flex our knee and extend our hips, it goes to a femoral nerve component, which indicates. So when we extend our knees and flex our hip and dorsiflex, it is of tibial component. So they are adding this contraction to this components. So let us see. So we are concentrically contracting hamstring muscles and also gluteal muscles to produce hip extension and also knee flexion, where we focus on gliding the femoral. It is done concentrically, and we are also maintaining the resistance and ask the patient to slowly relieve the tension, where we can eccentrically move the leg from the flexion to the extension to the dorsiflexion. So we are concentrically asking the patient to contract in the first image, on the top image, and we eccentrically bringing the leg down in the down. We can like concentrically gliding the femoral component and eccentrically gliding the tibial component. It is vice versa. So it is a combination of isotonics. So adding the isotonic movements and eccentric and concentric isotonics to the gliding, nerve gliding. So reversal of antagonist now. So rhythmic initiation, the emphasis is only on agonist. In reversal of agonist, emphasis is on both agonist and antagonist. Okay. What's the reversal of reversal techniques in PNS? Reversal of antagonist. So here we can see there are movements which is mentioned in yellow and arrows and red arrows, where the movement goes up and down. It is in the radial nerve component, where we keep the position of radial nerve neurodynamic position, and we are bringing up and down and reversing the rhythmic initiation. So, like if we focus on like the common synergy we see in the stroke is mixed synergy, and the muscle is which is undergoing spastic most of the time is biceps. I'm keeping that in mind, and we are bringing that down, and we are asking the patient to rhythmically initiate, and we are focusing on the agonist part. So slowly moving up and down and up and down and up and down, changing the resistance from up and down and up and down and up and down. The pattern, it is not only up and down, resisting the radial nerve pattern and also reversing that, and also asking the patient to reverse the movement, the pattern, and also we constantly change the resistance of the pattern. So this is a reversal of antagonist. So we'll move on to the repeated stretch now. So as we see in the picture, so if you see the C and D pictures, it is like the movement of ULTT or median nerve 1, where we move our hands and keep it in the dynamic position, where the girl is throwing a frisbee. So here, if we see, if our focus is on improving the supination, we'll do the supinator stretch, repeated stretch of the supinator group of muscles like this, and we are asked the patient to throw the frisbee in the desired direction. So if it is if you see the picture down, the red arrows, the 3 arrows have been put, which indicates a repeated stretch. If you focus on activating the tricep group of muscle by using a repeated stretch technique, we give a repeated stretch and ask the patient to throw the darts or throw a ball from the hand. So thereby we can use this repeated stretch to produce the desired movements. So as we know, it is done in the neurodynamic positions. So like throwing the darts, it's like it is in the ulnar nerve neurodynamic, and there C and D is more ULTT1 or median nerve 1 neurodynamic position. So quick stretch delivered by the therapist to a particular movement pattern in which the desired muscles are put under tension by elongation. It can be done in the beginning of the range or throughout the range. Wherever the range is restricted, we can use this to bring that movement. So it generally increases the strength of the muscles for a short span, where we can use it to produce the desired movement. So we can also use neurodynamic positions on the other hand, which can improve the movement on the affected side. On which neurodynamic position improves which movement, we can experiment and explore. Contract relax. So there is a direct contract relax and indirect contract relax technique, where we isotonically contracts. Here, if we can see the arrow, it indicates the movement, isotonic movements. It moves actually. It moves. The segment of the forearm is moving up and down isotonically upon resistance. So here the contraction of antagonist bicep muscle and move to a new range actively or passively, or active, assisted or resisted. So we are saying that here the biceps is antagonist. So we are focusing on improving the strength of triceps here. So as I said before, when I do this when I preparing this presentation, my focus is on typical synergy. So I want to increase the contraction of triceps more to produce the movement. So we can also add the tendon tapping to facilitate. It is also used in roots approach and also in PNF to improve the facilitation. Sarah also explained very beautifully in NEUROREHABCON. Whenever we do the movement, whenever even in the cycling, hand cycling and cycling using the pedals for the legs, tapping technique is used to facilitate the proprioception so that better movement is produced. So we can also try to add neurodynamic position on the unaffected arm. So what is the difference between direct contract relax? I mean direct contract relax and indirect contract. So it is like when we use biceps to contract relax isotonically, we are using the principle of autogenic inhibition, where after the isotonic movement of the bicep, we are intending to passively bring the range to the desired level, or we can say the patient actively to bring to the new range, or we can resist and bring them to a new range. So in indirect contract relax, we focus on reciprocal inhibition, where we contract tricep muscle directly to inhibit the bicep muscle. Wherein direct contract relax use bicep itself to increase the contraction and to produce autogenic inhibition to relax the biceps, where here we use triceps to relax biceps to produce a desired movement. So if you see here, we use it in the neurodynamic positions. At the same time, we use this technique. Hold relax. So if we compare the arrow marks in this and in this, we can see the difference. The thing is, they are not moving isotonically. Here we resist the muscles isometrically. So here we don't intend to produce any movement while the muscle is undergoing contraction. After the muscle contracts, we are trying to passively or actively increase the range of the joint so that we can increase the range by utilizing the autogenic and the reciprocal inhibition, where they previously in contract relax we used isotonic movement. Here we use isometric movement. Like in a direct contract relax, we used autogenic inhibition. In direct hold relax, we use isometric movements, replication. So, like we know that all our movements are carried to the brain and it is registered there as positions wherever we use. So, in replication, we are making the patient to feel the end range or the range which they are expected to perform, or currently they are not able to perform. Like replication gives the opportunity to the patient to feel the end position. So the step one is choosing the neurodynamic position to be trained. Like if you see, we are opening the dress. When we opening a dress, it comes like the preloaded position of the ULTT1. So now we are using the neurodynamic position and we are maintaining the position, desired position, and the passively the position in the neurodynamic position is preloaded and it is made to wait there for a few seconds where the patient can feel the position and resist the shortened muscle groups. So, like if you see external rotators and wrist extensors, it's all shortened where we are resisting the pattern. So when we resist the pattern, the more signal is going to proprioception signal is going to brain, and the position is maintained, and not more than 5 to 8 seconds. And again, we are bringing the patient to the opposite direction. We can either bring it concentrically or eccentrically, and ask the patient to relax and passively move the patient a little in opposite direction and ask the patient to come back to the end of the position. Okay, if we keep in this position and again we are trying to come back a little and again going back, not fully, but come back little and going back. It's like strengthening the muscles in the range expected or newly reached range. So thereby the patient recognizes the new range where it registers the new range, and they also strengthening the muscle groups on that particular range. So on top it is a neurodynamic position. So always end the training or technique with strengthening in the new range. So thereby patient can better register the position, and also they can by coming back tomorrow they can better remember the position, not going back to the same thing again and again. So we can add pressure biofeedback. This the course is also available in AOMPT. Is also whenever possible we can use biofeedback for better motor control retraining. Also try eyes closed and open to improve proprioception, and to bring this and ask the patient to close their eyes and feel the position, so it improves the proprioception. Use resistance band to produce the movement. So feel free to use walking aids and other orthoses to augment your treatment. So now we seeing few things where we incorporated the PNF into neuromanual therapy, and to make this much more much more effective, we can also use other therapies. We can explore, and you can see here when I was going to conference, I got an opportunity to see this machine where we are going to see now the walking pattern by using the neurodynamic positions. While implementing that into a stroke patient where the walking itself is difficult, we cannot ask them to do neurodynamic position and walk. It will be very difficult at starting if based on the level of their impairment and the level of the recovery. But definitely by using the body weight supported treadmill training, or by using the thing here, it supports your body weight and also corrects if you fall down, and it also resists. The technology is very advanced. Use these kind of aids to support the patient to perform neurodynamic walkings. So, if you see here, there are different things which I will try to explore while walking. First, we'll see basic walking, how it does. In walking, I definitely emphasized, exaggerated the walking pattern so that we can better understand. So, like opposite to the pelvis, our pelvis moves in one direction, the contralateral trunk movement is produced in the opposite direction. And also when we are keeping one leg forward and see the other hand is coming forward to maintain the equilibrium. So one leg is forward and one leg is forward and one hand contralateral hand is forward, and one on the same side ipsilateral leg is forward and contralateral hand is coming forward. So these are the things we note, and by using these things, we are modifying the coming things. See the movements of the hand, and also the right. And we move on to the next one also. So we'll see, we are seeing the normal walking pattern, how we walked, and see how the implementation of median nerve and radial nerve together while walking. Of course, we can use body weight supported training and also aids to produce these movements, which can be either given by therapist, one therapist in the lower limb and another therapist in the upper limb. And considering the implementation of median nerve and radial nerve opposite direction, let us see how the things goes. So one hand is going in the radial nerve neurodynamic position and another in ULTT1 or median nerve 1 position, and walking alternatively. So even while walking, we can give neurodynamic training. So that's a view of it. We'll see here we combined ulnar nerve and radial nerve together. So if we see also the combination of head movement along with that. So here we are trying to produce the movement both in the neck component for producing the slider. So to combine median nerve, radial nerve, and tibial nerve together, we also use lateral flexion at the same time neck flexion at the same time to produce those movements. So observing the neck, both extension and also contralateral rotation. These are all the things which I try to explore. So here, the fifth video, we all know that with resistance, we can get somewhat a better motor control, or we can get better activation at least to produce the movement. So if the side is affected side is the right side, they're giving the resistance, isotonic resistance on the contralateral side. So the external oblique of the opposite side and internal obliques works together to produce better trunk rotation, contraction, which helps in the movement, which also try to add along with the neurodynamic walking. Combining radial nerve, tibial nerve, median nerve together. These are all things coming in the video. Where we combining these things in the stroke patient, it can be done by one therapist for lower limb and another therapist by upper limb with upper limb, and with walking aids and with the body weight supported systems. So next one is aquatic neuromanual therapy. So name doesn't consider about the name. Neuromanual therapy, we are trying to do it in the underground. Of course, we have to be aware that patient is not having any suicidal thoughts and general contraindications to see in things, and also we have to be aware of any sympathetic and autonomic dysfunctions which might be provoked when the patient is exposed to waters, those things due to the coldness or hot water based on the temperature. So the here the view is the patient can position underwater. So why it can be done underwater? So it naturally resists the movement, and similarly isotonic movements. And as we see, we can also add dumbbells and weight busts to increase the resistance. So since it reduces the strain weight of the body, the patient can better use the reduced body weight to produce better movements. So since the movement is also controlled, we can get a better control. So we have to be constantly monitor the patient so that they should not get drowned, or it should be under strict supervision. Next one is aquatic neuromanagement. As I said before, many things in our life is like function movements mimic the neurodynamic and PNF patterns. Here we see the radial nerve neurodynamic portion is seen in the picture of the swimmer. So it is, we can see it in both kind of style, two kind of styles, in frog style and butterfly type of stroke. Here the stroke means not the stroke which we clinically address. Here the stroke is the movement of the hands during the swimming. So the frog style stroke and the butterfly style stroke uses these kind of movements. While we move the water behind, the patient is not necessarily to asked to swim, but even in the standing position, we can ask the patient to move the water around. If you are focused on my video, you can see me how my hands are moving. So here we focus on strengthening the triceps also. At the same time, water also resists the movement, and also we use Ramesses phenomenon. Stroke, burn storm. If we resist one side abduction, another side abduction also produced. So we use both the hands together to increase the better movement. So also irradiation, synergism, everything comes into the picture while we do this. So these are one of the patterns which I've observed during swimming, so that people might get view of how these things can be implemented into this relaxation. Not necessarily have to tip the head down, simply make the patient to do like aquatic neuromanagement. You can see the next one also. If you see the football under the football, like imagine the patient is sitting in the high sitting and doing slump test. So it is similar to that, the position. So we can also use footballs to better train the patient. So patient can do it in the standing, and also if he is not unable to, we can also support the patient and also ask him to do the movement. And it is more task oriented, object oriented, so we can better involve the patient. So when it comes to games and task orientedness, patients are generally more motivated to do the things, and it is always like good to approach and explore newer things. And these are the things which I've observed and I'm humbly presenting to you. And please make uh, good use of the ideas wherever it suits. And finally, I want to say some of the scope, like bringing in VR, virtual therapy, and augmented reality into the manual therapy. So, like, it's not only making the patient taking the website VR and making to do things. Like in neuromanual therapy, we also use compressing the nerve to reduce the spasticity also. So while they move, while they perform the movement, they can compress gently, and whether it leaves spasticity, and we can also gently provide the tapping whenever they do movement. So trying to integrate as much as stimulus as possible, and also trying to involve the cognitive aspect, making the patient to actively participate. So to enhance the neuroplasticity, all comes into the picture. And to making me to think like this, because instead of it's like these are the small explorations which I try to do. So thank you so much for Ritu ma'am and the sir and Darshana ma'am in really guiding me to present this presentation. And I really ever in depth to AOMPT, because all these things are very revolutionary and reality based teachings which we got from AOMPT, and a small budding with these things. And of course, sir can do million things with these things. So I'm trying to uh, just present that what AOMPT can do to the brain of young youths and individuals. Just gently presenting it. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Rita ma'am. Thank you, Krishna ma'am. Without your confidence and motivation, I think I would have never done this. Definitely, inspirations. All three pillars are my inspirations, and definitely that is what are driving me towards excellence. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sir, you stop your sharing that slide presentation.
Do you want me to share, ma'am?
You just stop sharing this so that you will be in the main
You want
screen. Yours
Yeah, I think
Okay.
yeah, he stopped. Stopped that file.
Okay.
Sharing that file.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Ritu ma'am. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I think it was completely new vision for the new mission. I will say the new mission we are going to start with the neuromanual therapy, where you have explained in a very, I will not say the different way. The way is the same, but your way was completely different to present, because we all use neuromanual therapy according to myofascial, the muscles dysfunction, or the strength of that muscle according to the flaccidity or spasticity. Because we know that these all the, when we treat the stroke patient or the patient is having a neural dysfunction, how the neuroplasticity work. Because we 3 days back we learned about that the pain, the mechanism based evaluation. So where the cognitive, where the central sensitization plays a very major role. So according to your explanation, how we can train that muscles, and how according to muscles, how we can train the nerve also. Because whenever we give the proprioception, or we give the tapping at particular place by giving the for the bicep or tricep, you were explaining in that also. So these are the training for the brain also. So that time the activation of brain works, and that myofascial component, the muscles start working. And we know that the where the joints are moving, the nerves are moving. So the muscles are moving, then the nerves are moving. So you combined all these things in a very different way, either with the muscles concentric, eccentric role of that myofascial component, or with the isotonic, isometric, how we can train the patient. So your way was completely different to train the patient if they are in having a muscles weakness, strength is very less, they are in a placid stage. Or you have added with the PNF pattern itself, you have added the neuromanual therapy, how we can train the patient, the neural component according to the positioning itself, by giving the offloading and loading of preloaded position, loaded position, and offloaded position also. Or for the spasticity or placidity, we start with the contralateral unaffected limb we trained first, then we train the, because the radiation will come towards the affected side, so we can train it like that also. So these all things which you have combined, definitely it will give us a new view, like the aquatic therapy in the aqua point. You have shown that how we can, given how the people can use this neurodynamic position itself, either for the lower limb, the tibial nerve position, or the SLR position itself, or in the upper limb conditioning itself, the frog like position you have explained. So there are so many things which you have added. That is, I think for me, it was very new things. And because we have seen the sir in the Pune conclave, where the sir has given us a complete new view of neuromanual therapy according to that particular the patient dysfunction, in which position he is not able to perform. Then we can upper limb to lower limb, the contralateral side, external rotation to internal rotation, which component we can utilize. And simultaneously you have added the muscles part also, that in that we can, how we can train the grip strength, or how we can, like you were explaining about the positioning itself, where we can give the resistant, then we can train the antagonist also. So there are so many things which you have added that is also very new. So thank you for your presentation. Definitely we have to, all the members of AOMPT and who all are learning about the neuromanual therapy, they should explore this neuromanual therapy for the better perspectives of perspective of neuro rehab. Because we know that this is the demand of era. We have to train the patient with the neural dysfunction, whatever the dysfunction. I will not say that we are not, AMPT is not restrict with the stroke rehabilitation also. We can train the patient for the Parkinson also. And there are so many other problem which the patient is having, facing with their neural, where they are not with the upper motor neuron or the lower motor neuron, they are not able to even control their ball and bowl movement also. So how these things are going in their body, we can apply according to the trunk rotation, or with the lower limb activity, where we can train the lower extremity nerves also. So these are the things which we can explore, and we have to, because otherwise we cannot keep this neuromanual therapy in a one box only, that this is the neuromanual therapy. We have to explore so many things, or we have to use on our patients, so that we can get the better result, and then we can come back with the case presentation. Yes, I have tried on my patient and my patient is improving. If my patient, like with the support system also, if the patient is not able to stand, we can use the support system, and then we can train the patient, or with the help of caregiver we can train. Like in neuro rehab, sir has given us a very beautiful view of all these things, that how we can train the patient for their sitting to kneeling also, or kneeling to standing also, where we can utilize according to the neural component of lower limb, where we can train the myofascial component, the contraction of that gluteal muscle, how we can add. So there are so many things. So the people who are saying, if they will take that courses, so that they can better understand that what you want to show them about the neuromanual therapy, or what you want to show them about the stroke neuro rehab, which we have learned from the sir. Because when without our only, if we will speak, they will understand 10%, but when they will take the course, they will see the video where sir has elaborately explained everything, then they can better understand that yes, we can treat the stroke patient in a functional way. Because in our AOMPT, we start our treatment on the one day. We start our when the patient is on the bed, we start our treatment. Then we are not waiting for the discharge of the patient, they will come to home and then we will start. So this is the main point. The focus of AMPT is a patient centered approach. So we have to explore so many things, and who are sitting here or they will see this video, they can understand better when they will take the video course of. Because if they want to learn the neuro rehab without taking the neuromanual therapy, or without taking the stroke neuro rehab, which we learned last year also, and this year it was an advanced course, completely a different view of neuromanual therapy for the stroke rehabilitation. So they should take that courses, so that they can upgrade their self also. Because when the patient is in ICU with the stroke patient, so you have to talk to the doctor, that who is the neurophysician or neurosurgeon is there. You have to talk to that yes, I will start my treatment according to this protocol, so that they will get the confidence that this is the people, the physiotherapists, who are taking my patient on a right way. So they will also get the confidence on us. So this is the thing, which this confidence is only comes when you learn from a proper way. So don't think that on the seeing on the YouTube that you have seen that neurodynamic testing, ULNT 1, 2, but why, what are the loading, what are the offloading, what is the preloading, what is the contralateral use, what is the head movement, so in what is the bilateral, what is the upper limb with the lower limb contour. So these are the things without learning, they cannot apply on their patient. Otherwise, they will worsen their patient also. So this is my request and advice to all the physiotherapists: upgrade yourself, because this time is for the neuro. This era is for the neuro, because of that internet or the mobile phone. The neural dysfunctions are very common in your patient. So if you want to treat them properly, learn neuromanual therapy, learn stroke neuro rehab, then you can train it. And the way the Krishna sir has explained, definitely it was a very different view, and definitely we will all work together in AOMPT, and we will learn more from each other, so that we can also upgrade ourselves, like from Krishna sir, or like that last week that Darshana ma'am has shown us a different view of neuromanual therapy, how we can understand the principle of neuromanual therapy, or the sir has given us a complete view. So this is a neuromanual therapy is a complete the umbrella for all the AMPT member. We have to hold that umbrella forcefully, so that we can explore so many new things with the neuromanual therapy, or with, like ma'am has already explained, that how we can apply neuromanual therapy with the AMNMT, where we can treat simultaneously all things. Because AMNMT is also the very best approach of AMPT, where we can utilize simultaneously, we can treat the patient, either the articular dysfunction, myofascial, and the neural. or with the motor control. So these are the things you have added in a one presentation. Very nice. Definitely we will learn more. So thank you so much, Krishna sir, and all the participants who are definitely their input. We will see that what they want, their queries, or we can learn from them also. If they will come with their any webinar or their session on neuromanual therapy by taking the courses from AOMPT. So they all are most welcome. So we will learn together. So thank you so much. And really it was nice presentation. And thank you, Krishna sir. Yes, sir. Over to you, sir.
Yes, Krishna.
Yes.
Meantime, I just announce
Yeah.
participants can post their questions on the Zoom chat. So Dr. Krishna can directly provide his insights on the points that are raised. You can post in the chat, and if we find that your questions are apart from what Dr. Krishna has presented. Okay. If he has taken the full presentation on PNF, and if you ask a question like, what is the pathophysiology of PNF means? Pathophysiology comes for disorder, not for approach. Okay. Otherwise, your question should be framed as pathophysiological reasoning for PNF. But even then, that is the indication of the PNF, which has already been explained. Either you have spasticity or flaccidity. So whether you see proximal to distal influence, or you see antagonist to agonist influence, or you see contralateral limb or the functional activity, the motor plasticity influence on the region. So please ask your questions very relevantly. Those who ask at least 2 relevant questions out of the 3, because I have been asking all of you to send the questions and I did not give any opinion on your questions. Because first of all, physios feel difficult to ask questions only. Okay. And if you don't ask questions, you can never become better. And you cannot make the knowledge better. This I can guarantee. Okay. You becoming better is like ruled out if you don't ask questions. Okay. So let's see, however the questions come, don't be too self-critical. Mistakes are made by everybody. But ensure that apart from the presentation, you need to ask a question, or what you have understood from the presentation. So is it this is what I understood. So is it so? Like that also you can ask. Because you have attended for 1.5 hours, you will get a take-home message. So put that take-home message and tell that this is what I understood. Am I right? So you can ask like that. So that will be better for your long-term retention or upgradation in the future. So please put your questions when we have our General Secretary, Dr. Darshana Jani. Of course, she was the organizing secretary for the Stroke NeuroRehabCon. Whenever Dr. Krishna was sharing the pictures, she was also the co-instructor. Okay, so she was actually helping me. She's very confident. She is very confident to come on the screen. She's very dynamic, neuroplasticity. Okay, so if I am giving a lecture also, meantime I am giving an instruction also, she will modify the hold there only. Okay, so it was so easy to actually take the demonstrations in madam's presence. Yes, Dr. Darshana, go ahead with your inputs.
Yes.
Which will help the
Good evening,
content.
sir. Yeah.
Yes.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, Ritu ma'am, Krishna sir, and to all the participants. I think it was a wonderful compilation by Krishna sir of all the techniques what we learned in the conclave. I mean, it was so creative. For all the participants today, I would say that definitely Krishna sir has taken efforts to put down everything in one presentation. It was very, very informative, of course. But if I talk from understanding perspective, the participants need to have their basics, the foundations clear. Because what we saw today was like the ultimate thing, how we use neuromanual therapy for stroke rehabilitation. So whether we want to address the flaccidity or spasticity, or we are seeing the functional goals of the patient, and that was the achieving the functional goals using neuromanual therapy for stroke patient was something in the conclave we focused on. I mean, we can always address flaccidity, spasticity in many different ways, but neuromanual therapy, integrating it for getting the functional, achieving the functional goals, because I think that is what the patients look for. You know, when a stroke patient comes to us, it's like, how early can I walk, or how early can I start using my upper limb for my functional daily activities? And that's something very, very core what we are going to address. And apart from all the other techniques what we have been using conventionally, neuromanual therapy is added on techniques. So as Krishna sir already started with this thing, like, you know, it's a multimodal approach, it's an integrated approach. It's not like, you know, you do only neuromanual therapy, or you do only something PNF, or other things. So when we integrate all the techniques together, and in a very what we say, a very sequenced manner, then only the things are going to work out better. In fact, it was very wonderful to see how Krishna sir has you know, added on these videos of the walker, supported walker, and the aquatic therapy what he was showing. So that is definitely what we say, it's of course fascinating. And of course, if we have all these equipments, and we can do multiple things for a patient, it works wonderful. So that is there. But it's like we start from very basics, like when the patient is in bed. What we learned in neuro conclave was, like, you know, rolling also. If you want to teach a person rolling, a stroke patient rolling over, or a simple functional activity like, you know, sitting up, supine to sitting, or kneeling to standing, these functional positions, sir has wonderfully explained. And it was fun to learn these things, you know, how we can get the patient into a position, understanding the neurodynamics, and applying the neuromanual therapy there. So that was something very, very unique feature of the conclave. So it's my like, you know, recommendation to all these participants who are here today. Just don't go by, like, you know, today's presentation. Go back to all the previous things what are available with AOMPT. Ritu ma'am has already mentioned that I had taken up a presentation on the basics of neuromanual therapy. So it's very easy to understand. If you know something basics, if your foundations are strong, then only you can understand today's session better, right? So please get all those videos of the presentations which were taken before. In fact, even Ritu ma'am's presentation on which was on case-based presentation also gives you an idea how we can integrate neuromanual therapy. And of course, we have so many other videos or presentations by sir himself. Last year, as Ritu ma'am was explaining, that was a wonderful course on stroke, where we already utilized neuromanual therapy for the upper limb, lower limb, and trunk. But again, that perspective was different, and what we did in the conclave was something very, very different. See, we have attended these courses, and I can tell you the difference between what we learned last year and what was taken in the conclave. So a functional approach, integrating the neuromanual therapy is something very important, and I think definitely we need to try these. I have myself tried on my patients. Maybe a small techniques I have done, but I see a difference in the functional activity itself. Like Krishna sir was showing in the first images, you know, where ask the patient to just imagine to hold the object, right? Even if he is not doing the movement. So these things also, so there are so many other measures also which we integrate, where we have graded motor imageries, or, you know, like central sensitization. If we have talk about the cognitive affective behavior, we have to have all these mechanisms in our mind and then move ahead with the treatment. So it's not just today's session which is going to give you like, oh, I've learned how to use neuromanual therapy in stroke. It's not that. So get your bases strong by taking all the previous videos. And of course, today's presentation definitely included most of the things what we have seen. In fact, apart from these therapies, we also have adjunct therapies like screw cupping, ISTM, taping techniques also, which we learned in the conclave, which are a part of our therapy, adjunct therapies, you know, when we treat a stroke patient. So it's like, it's not one technique. We need to understand this. It's not one PNF technique or one technique which we are going to use. It's like multiple techniques. We are using it together, but understanding where we need to use and how we need to use is something very important. Not just because of its flaccidity, we do certain techniques, or its spasticity, we do tensioner technique. It's not that, but understanding that what is the functional goal, what is the status of the muscles. It is localized, but again, understanding the patient as a whole is something very important. So, and also, of course, very, very important is patient's understanding. When we apply these techniques, it's very, because I'll tell you something very simple. When we do neuromanual therapy or neurodynamics, the positions itself or the components what we use for all the nerves, be it the upper limb, lower limb, it is very important to understand or make the patient understand also what kind of movement we need. So what sir has made it simple is like, we give functional activities. So as Krishna sir was also showing, like, maybe throwing a frisbee. So we have functional activities also a part of our therapy, where we put the patient into a neurodynamic position. So it was wonderful. Believe me, we really enjoyed that conclave. Uh, of course, learning was something very unique. Even though, as I mentioned, that sir has taken a course last year, but it was this conclave was way, way, way different from whatever we learned in the last session. So whoever wants to learn neuromanual therapy in stroke needs to get all the sessions. First is the neuromanual therapy, whatever we have, like with us, with AOMPT, we have many, many sessions on neuromanual therapy by sir. And then next is the stroke rehabilitation, which we had last year. And of course, this conclave, which we had it in Pune in August. So it's like compiled together, then we can have a broader perspective. Okay, this is what I can, offer. Or when I treat a patient, I need to have a knowledge of everything together and then start treating the patient. It would be very wrong that you see today's session and just go and treat somebody. Don't do that, please, because today's session was really advanced, where we have learned so many things, and then it makes us easier to understand what Krishna sir was talking. But for the first time participants, it's something very, very new. So please, it's my sincere recommendation that you please take all the videos, enhance your knowledge about neuromanual therapy, and then apply these techniques. It's definitely a breakthrough. Use it in your patients, see how they work, and definitely, I'm telling you, it's going to make a way difference in the rehabilitation than just practicing what we've been doing conventionally. So a wonderful presentation, Krishna sir, and very creative, I would say. We have also got ideas from Krishna sir's presentation, like what we can include now in our PPTs further. And Krishna sir was very confident about explaining the whole theoretical part also. So thank you so much, Dr. Krishna. Thank you, Ritu ma'am, and to all the participants who are here today. Yes, sir. Over to you, sir.
So first we have our Emmanuel, whom I will enable the unmute so you can ask the question directly. Krishna, you will be addressing his queries with inputs from Rituma. Yes. Emmanuel, are you ready to unmute?
Yeah, hello.
Thank you
for this opportunity.
Adatoyo.
Thank you very much.
Is he visible on the screen, Emmanuel?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Black screen is visible only.
He was visible a few seconds before. But now...
Yeah, now he's visible, but the screen is frozen.
Might be his internet. That's why its voice is also getting crackling. Okay. The next participant, Sanctuary Singh. Wait. Emmanuel, wait for your internet to become better. The next two had asked the question in the chat. Yeah, Sanctuary Singh. She asked two questions. Yes. Oh, Krishna started screen sharing.
Yes, I am. Hello, can you hear me?
Who's this started screen sharing? What is this?
Yes, sir. I only shared, sir. The question was relevant. How it is NMT helps in the helping stroke muscle recovery that they asked. That's why I opened this screen.
No, the moment you start the screen sharing, before she asked the question, I wanted her to ask the question on the screen. Nah? That is why I'm enabling the unmute. If you do screen sharing, none of us will be visible.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Please alert when you are doing the screen sharing. You tell that when you are answering the query, you tell that this is the reason, this is the reason. Now I'll show you an article. Then go to the screen sharing. Don't just share the screen. Okay. Yeah. Sanctuary, you are not able to unmute. Final call.
Sir, he is written in the chat that his internet connection. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
Internet connection will affect the video streaming, ma'am. Not asking audio. We all know that. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Ask your question to Dr. Krishna.
Question is, if we do neurodynamics activity like so, and it's manual stretching of the muscles, this also stretches the nerves like radial nerve stretching, medial nerve stretching. So it is different things or it is same? And if it's same, then how it affects the muscle? Neurodynamics therapy, how it affects the muscle to recover fast?
And the next question.
And the next question is like a manual release, and see, manual release therapy is also there, and PNF is there. So what is the difference in between them?
Okay.
It's a second question I couldn't able to understand.
She's asking two things. One is how neuromanual therapy is different from muscle stretching.
Yeah.
Okay. And the second thing is she's telling how this neuromanual therapy or PNF is different from manual releases.
And how it affects the muscles to recover fast?
Okay. How it affects their muscles to recover fast only he explained throughout the presentation.
Yes, sir, but just want to know the difference. What is the
Difference
difference
between?
Means which one, which like neurodynamics will help to get muscle recover fast or manual release? If it's different things.
Manual release is passive. Okay. Yeah, Krishna, go ahead. Yeah.
As Sar
Right.
started, manual release is passive, and here we are involving the now. First, I will address the first question, that is whether muscle stretching and nerve stretching, neuromanual therapy is same or different. Definitely is different. As I mentioned before, functional activities, like if we drink water, like it involves midprone supinators and finger flexors and elbow flexors and also shoulder flexors together. And when we give somebody a thing from here to here, we are obviously using our external rotators, elbow extensors and wrist extensors and giving. So it is not that functional PNF and stretching, muscle stretching, and all are completely of different movements, but in what front is different is we have to consider. So when we do it in the when we do things, it is not that all the activity we are doing it in the neurodynamic position. Not all the activity we are doing it in the PNF position. So when we use muscle to stretch, we don't get a pulling sensation as we use it in the nerve stretching. So if you just keep the things in ulnar nerve position, just to we can see the stretch in the little finger and lateral fingers and all these areas where you can feel. We can know that there is no connection musculaturely from the neck to the little finger. There is no connection in terms of muscle. I'm not talking about myofascial. I'm talking about purely muscle. There is no muscle which is connecting a little finger to our neck. So the moment you do this, we are loading the nerve. So that's why we are getting the response in our little finger. So when we do any neurodynamic questions, so when you do this, tensioner will get that tingling sensation, that numbness. If you just keep your hand like
But
this,
I request, I interfere and I tell Century that do yourself now together. If Dr. Krishna is showing the components, you also do the components. Okay. First and foremost, either you start with the upper limb neurodynamic test 1, the median nerve 1, shoulder abduction you do, external rotation, supination, wrist extension. Now stretch has come in your thumb. Bending to same side, the stretch in the thumb is less. Bending to opposite side, the stretch in the thumb is more. Okay, now the stretch in the thumb has disappeared. You are extending the elbow. You are getting a stretch in the forearm. You bend to the same side, the stretch is reduced. You bend to the opposite side, the stretch in the elbow is more. So now coming to Krishna's explanation, there is no muscle which is attached from the cervical spine to the elbow. So this is not muscle stretching. Basically, muscle stretching is we only elongate the joints that are crossed by that muscle, that particular muscle. Nerve stretching is, or I am not telling nerve stretching, but just for your understanding, I am telling. It is the joints that are crossed by the nerve throughout. For example, there is no muscle in the shoulder that is supplied by median nerve. Median nerve does not supply any muscle of the shoulder. But still we are using a shoulder as a component. Why? Because it is anatomical location of the nerve. If the nerve is anteriorly located, nerve is inferiorly located, we will do the abduction. If the nerve is anteriorly located, we will do the external rotation. If the nerve is posteriorly located like radial nerve, we will do internal rotation. Because if you want to elongate a rubber band, you have to elongate depending upon its position. Ulnar nerve is posterior to the elbow. So you will do the flexion of the elbow. Ulnar nerve is not supplying the triceps. So you elongate the triceps with the elbow flexion. It's not tricep stretching. Tricep stretching means you should go with the radial nerve stretch. So nerve stretch and muscle stretch. Radial nerve stretch is elbow extended only. Whereas tricep stretch is elbow flexed. Components are totally different. There is no opportunity where you have to think that they both are similar. But you are confusing with the median nerve. You are thinking in terms of supination and wrist extension. So this will stretch the forearm flexors and it also stretches the median nerve. So what is the difference? Okay. If you are holding the thumb like this and you are stretching like this, so it will stretch muscle also, nerve also. But his answer is the stretch has come, bend to the same side, the stretch is less. Bend to the opposite side, the stretch is more. If that happens, it is median nerve stretch. If the neck movements don't change the stretch in the wrist, it is the muscle stretch. These components are devised, of course, by David Butler, Michael Shacklock, based upon cadaver studies that how nerves are moving, okay, how we can actually influence the nerves. That is why neuromanual therapy is beyond the nerves. We add muscles also in between. We can add contraction anytime. In this neurodynamic position, I can give contraction to the same muscle or antagonist muscle. I can add contraction to the same muscle or antagonistic muscle in the neurodynamic position. So that is the muscular component, which anytime it can be added in neuromanual therapy. The same way muscle stretching also. I just stretch the neck. I can add a neural component easily. Understood? So both the ways, as a clinician, it is you are the boss to decide for which patient what I have to use. Whether I will put the nerve in stretch, after that I will do the muscles activation or motor control, okay? Activation to facilitate, activation to inhibit, okay? Anything you can do, because same muscle you can activate to facilitate, antagonistic muscle you can activate to inhibit. That is under your decision. Who has spasm, who has tightness of upper trapezius. It is your evaluation will tell. That is why courses are there. Otherwise, everyone will think that every technique is similar. Even hold relax or contract relax, what was mentioned in PNF, in manual therapy, we have muscle energy techniques. It actually philosophically looks like similar. But if you see the parameters, they're totally different. The therapeutic objectives are totally different between a post-isometric relaxation, which is actually equivalent to the hold relax, and reciprocal inhibition, which is actually equivalent to the contract relax. It might even mix up with agonist reversal also. But either way, what you need to think is, where is the muscle? Where is the nerve? Nerve is everywhere. So if I have to stretch the nerve, I should do movements which are at multiple joints. Muscle is only maximum 2 joints, 3 joints, maximum 7 joints. Why 7 joints? Wrist, if you are considering each and every joint as one joint, you can put a 7. Inferior radioulnar joint as 1. Radiocarpal, midcarpal, carpometacarpal, intermetacarpal. Each one you can put as one joint. Maybe 15 joints also will come. But it does not go across the segments. Hand, forearm, arm, neck, head. Various body segments are there. Multiple segments are involved for nerve. For muscle, it is only one segment. So remember that. And 2 joint muscles, whatever, like you feel like biceps brachii, it moves the arm when the shoulder is, or when the body is fixed, using long head and the short head. It moves the elbow when the arm is fixed, using the insertion. So muscles are very specific, either origin and insertion. Nerve, there is no origin and insertion. Proximal and distal, proximally the nerves are larger, distally the nerves are thinner. Motor nerves are stretched by or influenced by stretching all the muscles supplied by that nerve. Whereas sensory nerves are elongated or tensile loading, stretching is given by just by their anatomical location. And we might give even a sensory stimuli while we are loading the nerve, where we palpate the nerve or we percuss the nerve. We might produce a percussion hammer and we can tap the nerve. Okay, so in the neurodynamic position to influence the sensory aspect of the nerve, median nerve. So nerves are much broader, much bigger, much the boss, because muscles are like attenders, whereas the nerves are like the personal secretary of the boss. So it is like the communication. So that is brought by the nerve. Bosses, of course, is the central nervous system, always. Autonomic nervous system is like the security who stands outside the boss cabin who can be outside the office also. So various systems have various roles, and patients will have mixed clinical presentations. They will have a muscle, but now muscle stretching is not at all coming here, because in stroke neurorehab, it is about what is called as muscle inhibition, neuromuscular control. We will not tell muscle stretching there. Nerve also, just for explanation, in a preliminary basic level, I am just telling nerve stretching. It's not stretching alone. We are actually moving the nerve. We are enabling mobility of the nerve, the kinetics and kinematics of the nerve, the neurodynamics. So understand that these all are globally available literature. So if you just see a preliminary search in Google, you will get a lot of materials to see various basic things being addressed, or even the techniques demonstration in YouTube videos. But watching them, I can assure that you will go nowhere, because it does not tell what is the exact clinical presentation of the patient, for which what you have to plan and how you will have to schedule a program of rehabilitation. So in a patient who has muscle tightness first means it must be a chronic stroke, a residual stroke. So muscle tightness has come. Even then, we do not do muscle stretching. We will only do inhibition of the muscle, activating the antagonist. That is neurophysiological. If you want to mechanically influence this tight muscle, we will do myofascial releases. Myofascial release itself will improve the flexibility of the muscle. Stretching the muscle is not the goal. If you are keeping wrist extended and weight bearing means, remember that it is not the stretch that is important for the hemiplegic hand. It is the weight bearing, the proprioception that is important there. Okay. So every purpose has been miscommunicated across generations. People think that we do stretching of the upper limb. Okay. And then for the stretching, we are putting the hand here and then weight bearing. But ideally, it is proprioceptive stimulus, which actually normalizes the muscle tone. And co-contraction, all the sides muscles become active when there is weight bearing. Joint compression. Joint distraction is like inhibit all the muscles. So these both are proprioceptive stimulus. Joint compression, joint distraction. So we need to develop a better lateral perspective to understand the techniques, their application, decision making, and progression. Without that, you attend a PNF workshop. The PNF people, they will teach various techniques which are mentioned in the various options, including diagonal patterns, irradiations, contracted relax, hold relax, everything. But it does not make you in which patient what I should do. So clinical reality, you need to do clinical certification courses on conditions, not on techniques. Because even if it is neuromanual therapy, we use myofascial techniques. In neuromanual therapy, we use articular techniques, proprioceptive stimulation during the neuromanual therapy, balance training during the neuromanual therapy. What Dr. Darshana was summarizing was the functional training. The 1 year before, it was regional task training. That is upper limb training, lower limb training, and trunk training. The first course, what we had on stroke rehab. Whereas the second one, what we had in Pune was functional milestones, right from rolling, right from to side lying, sitting, half kneeling, standing, and then how developing a normal rhythmic pattern, alternating pattern, that neural plasticity, central pattern generators, and how advanced training like finger control, how we can use what way integrating different principles. Maybe it is a Bobart's reflex inhibiting positions, but we used it with even ice cream sticks and then taping the person wrist so that the finger activity gets better trained. Instead of an orthosis, which will make the subject to feel that I am disabled, a simple rigid taping or what is called as the kind of a supportive strapping. These all things, many things can work. For example, even a spastic muscle you can inhibit using a kinesiological tape. And you can also use cupping and IASTM in cases of advanced adhesions and contractures when subject is having post-stroke spasticity, chronic, okay, long-standing cases. So remember that to develop a better perspective, you need the better strategy to focus. So where to focus, what to learn. You make your decisions, then the journey is smoother. Otherwise, after 25 years, again, you have to take the course of AOMPT. I guarantee you. Because unless you take this, you will not get a solution. And we teach 50 years ahead. Okay. So wherever people will go around, finally, it is AOMPT for knowledge. Of course, the major thing what you have to see is, I will do a short summary with a separate recording. What is proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation? Means proprioceptive stimulus is there. What is proprioceptive stimulus? Static, dynamic stimulus. What is the type of a static proprioceptive stimulus? Compression distraction. Yeah, soft tissue compression is also a mechanoreceptor in the muscle, that is proprioception of the muscle. On the tendon, tapping or tendon sustained pressure, that is also proprioceptive stimulus. Static. Dynamic proprioception comes to during a movement. Either it is kinesthesia, the movement sensation, or joint repositioning error. That means eyes open and then I come to a position. Eyes closed, can I come back to the same position? Joint repositioning error. And for dynamic proprioceptive stimulus, we always ensure what is called as perturbation or task. If somebody doing a task, reaching out or buttoning the shirt, it's a dynamic one. We don't have to watch where our hand is to put the button. We might be looking somewhere else, but still I can put the button of my t-shirt because it is the proprioception. So remember that static and dynamic is there, and what I am doing is a functional activity. So in a functional activity, I see that whether dynamic stimulus will help. If the movement is going in an abnormal direction, then dynamic is important. So where I see that, why is it going like abnormal movement? Why is he not going like this forward? Why is he going like this in an angular movement? Is it because of the trunk? So I might activate the trunk rotation, same side rotation, and then I will find the reaching out has become more functionally desirable. So then trunk control training for that subject will become important because I modify the trunk and the task is getting better. Same way, if I keep the opposite or the normal upper limb in the neurodynamic position and the subject is able to reach better, means it is neuromanual therapy which is indicated because it is improvising the task. That is also a proprioceptive stimulus because you keep a neurodynamic position, it loads the joint, it strains the muscle. You can't hold the position for long. because you have a sensation of discomfort, sensation of joint position. That is, proprioception is there with everything. I am sitting means my proprioception is active for sitting. I am moving my arms means my proprioception is active for my elbow or my fingers or for my tongue movements. Everything proprioception is there. Proprioception is like a neurophysiological terminology for consciousness. Consciousness is deeper level. It might go to the spiritual level also, but this is a physical consciousness is called as the proprioception. And if you are very good proprioception means subconsciously also physical functioning will happen. Need not be consciously doing it. Like our walking. So that is proprioceptive stimulus. First thing you think. Next thing is neuromuscular. Means you can influence nerve also, muscle also. Proprioceptive, neuromuscular. So most of the times the PNF is taught for muscles. Pattern, proximal muscles, distal muscles, all this. But today's session, Dr. Krishna actually, when he was listening in the conclave itself, I know that something parallelly is thinking. What he was thinking was, he was understanding that neuromanual therapy demonstrations through his understanding of PNF. He was keeping PNF as the instruction manual. Okay? And he was understanding what was the neuromanual therapy demonstrations. So I will see that when other people will be nodding the head like, yeah, we have learned like that. When I am completing the task or when I am completing the neuromanual therapy aspects. But he will be nodding the head when I tell reciprocal, when I tell activation of muscle during the neurodynamic position, when I tell weight bearing proprioceptive stimulus, that time. So I understood that time only that some other thinking is there, he is relating with something else, not outside the neuromanual therapy. And then this presentation confirmed that we can use the PNF for the nerve if we incorporate neuromanual therapy together. Otherwise, PNF will be there only for muscles, motor recruitment, developmental patterns, all that is there, central, the PNF role on the central nervous system. But the peripheral nervous system can be influenced in PNF positively if we incorporate the neuromanual therapy. That is the take home. And then the facilitation term is only a gross term, PNF. I do not know why they kept it as facilitation. They could have kept it as modulation because you not only facilitating, you can also inhibit. It is about the task that is important. Don't concentrate on muscle facilitation. I will be more concentrating on an abnormal movement that is happening. So I have to inhibit the abnormal component, that movement component. I will not be concentrating on inhibiting which muscle. Okay. So if a subject is doing an excessive protraction of the scapula, the only way by which you can inhibit is activate the retractors or activate the same side rotation of the trunk. See, biomechanically, we have multiple options as physical therapist. Even cervical also, I have protraction, retraction. Okay, I do protraction, retraction. Easily coming both sides when the neck is neutral. If my neck is rotated to the same side, protraction will not come. This side will come. Retraction from neutral to back will go. Retraction other side will go nicely. Retraction this side won't come because neck is rotated to the same side. Which might happen in an hemiplegic who is always more depressed and looking more towards the affected side. Otherwise, in the other category of hemi-neglect, where the patients look away from the side of paralysis, they are rotated to the opposite side. So because of which the protraction will be more and this side protraction will be less. So a lot of components, one segment to another segment, there will be an influence. And for correcting this rotation, we might give prism glasses. But during the upper limb task training, how you can influence these rotators is by giving a contraction for same side rotation, because opposite side rotation was pathomechanical. So you want to inhibit the opposite side rotation. So same side rotation activation. So that will be inhibited. And many of the people in the trunk or neck, that much impairments won't be there. Okay, it will be only the extremity which will be mostly there, because trunk has bilateral connections. So one half of the brain is normal. So definitely they will get that control, fair to good level. Utilize the trunk of muscle activity, irradiate to the shoulder using PNF. But when we do that, it is muscle facilitation if you are concentrating only on the rotators with the protractors. That is muscle facilitation. But if you are concentrating on other upper limb being in ULNT2, upper limb neurodynamic test 2, and then weight bearing, and during that you do this training with resistance and reaching out, reaching forwards, or picking up a comb as a task, it means that neuromanual therapy, so this PNF is focusing on the nerve. So understand that this is one half of the crux of what is called as making PNF better, making PNF utilizing for nerve facilitation using neuromanual therapy. The first half. Now the second half comes. This is more climax, because spasticity, the most challenging one is spasticity. We always feel that the velocity dependent spasticity is a torture. Subject suddenly becomes overactivity of the muscle, and then it takes a long time to actually come out of the spasticity. And you know that for those patients, more than the PNF, neuromanual therapy will be useful. Because this synergy, the spastic synergy position itself, is actually an offloaded position of median nerve. So if you are actually targeting the loading, median nerve loading, it means that it is a spasticity inhibitory position. So neuromanual therapy is more indicated in loading patterns, especially for spasticity, not for the hypotonia, not for the task-related dynamic movement of normality. Okay, it is more of a static hypertonia or reflex-initiated hypertonia, or it can be even voluntary. I want to pick up that object from the table, then immediately a normal upper limb which is like this, a spastic upper limb like this. When you tell me to touch, it becomes volitional. Okay, so when I have to do an activity, that time the spasticity comes in the picture. So all this are different types of spasticity. A patient who is coming to you like this is different from patient who has like this. You ask him to reach forward, and reaching forward time it becomes like this. So there is dynamic spasticity, functional spasticity, and static spasticity, and contractures. In other terms, the Tardieu scale is there, which gives this actually as the rating. For the voluntary control, we have the Brunstorm also. That also tells about the stages of motor recovery. That also can guide for task control and task training. But what is important here is this neuromanual therapy, when you are doing it, is very, very challenging because you are going against the spasticity. So then how you can do? By activating the antagonist, by influencing proximal to distal. So there, to make the neuromanual therapy better, we are incorporating the PNF. So that means in a flaccid stage, hypotonia, what is our goal? Facilitation. Which technique is better? If you ask me PNF and NMT, which one is better means, obviously PNF is better for the flaccid stage. So when we use the PNF, how we can use it for the nerve? Neuromanual therapy, integrating there in the plasticity. So flaccidity is like 70% PNF and 30% NMT. 100% is functional. Okay. Without functional, there is no treatment. Here, spasticity is NMT is 70 and PNF is 30. We use the PNF to ensure that the NMT don't get restricted. NMT don't get affected. Okay, so that is our goal. And that we can influence with joint compression distractions or antagonist activation, or even by tuning fork, because that is also tuning fork on the tendon of a muscle also is a proprioceptive stimulus. Percussion hammer on the muscle also is a proprioceptive stimulus. So remember that sustained pressure will inhibit the spastic muscle also. A quick pressure will facilitate a flaccid muscle. All these are proprioceptive stimulus. You might think it is roots approach. That does not matter. Point is which technique and how we can combine and how we can rational that we can make a technique better. Because NMT may not work in all the spectrum of the cases. When it is flaccid, we need the PNF to work together. PNF is maximum, the boss. It is like two batsmen who are playing cricket in the field, in the pitch. Somebody is batting well, you prefer to stay on the runner side. Just to give the strike to the other player, let him play. Same like that, PNF will be the striker in the flaccid stage and the NMT will be the runner. Whereas in spasticity, the NMT is the striker and the PNF will be the runner. So that is how we decide. In a stage, in a transition, you might use both nearly equally, or depending upon the task accomplishment, task performance. Because we always think that if the patient is not able to do it correctly, it gives a negative reinforcement and they stop doing the activation or the initiative. So if they do the process correctly also, they are very happy. Accomplishment of the task, picking up the glass, if they're able to pick up, definitely it's important for the caregivers. But for a physical therapist, whether the subject is reaching correctly, the sequential of functional activation, whether it is there, acceptable, because that is energy efficient. I can do abnormally like this and then pick up a glass. But how long I can do? I'll do only 2-3 times and I'll get fatigued. So everything is important there, and to have a what is called as a parallel perspective and integrating this is definitely essential. Neurodynamic test when you simply perform versus after weight bearing, asking the subject to push your hand as a proprioceptive stimulus. After that, you do the neurodynamics. It will be easier because proprioceptive stimulus will enhance the neurodynamics. So that is what we expect in a spastic or a hypertonic scenario. And then he highlighted about partial body weight support system, aquatic, because these two, the body weight, equilibrium, balance and proprioception, all will go parallelly. Line of gravity shift, either from the trunk or from upper limb. So body weight is a major factor. To control the trunk, then control comes from the lower limb or for the upper limb. Trunk control, then it comes. And gravity is a very, very important challenging force. For a normal person, gravity is a friend. But for a stroke patient, the gravity becomes conflicting. It worsens the scenario. That is the reason when the subject is sitting versus subject is supine lying. Subject is sitting versus standing. The performance is different because the influence of the gravity becoming higher in standing. Supine to sitting also, gravity becomes higher. base of support becomes lesser. So all this, we need to think in terms of our functional analysis. A patient who is able to do the shoulder lifting in supine, but in sitting, the shoulder is not lifting. You know that, yes, biomechanically it is core muscle weakness, but it is the influence of gravity. So when partial body weight support system is given, the focus goes more into the proprioception rather than the body weight. So kinesthesia will get more preference than the joint compression in the knee or in the hip or ankle. That reciprocal action of lower limb training, for example. So there, that kinesthesia, movement sensation, flexion of my hip, flexion of the knee, that focus can easily go to the patient because gravity is supported. Body weight is supported. Same like that effect can happen in aquatic therapy. So these all things are as per the infrastructure that is available in the clinic. But the most important resource which you have to actually nourish is the intellectual infrastructure. So that, and then the discussions, interactions, because each person, each clinician will have one experience. When we interact, we explore the mechanism by which that patient improved. There will be a parallel perspective to everything. That is why our interactive webinars are there. And we facilitate interaction. Without interaction, there is no learning. So understand these two components, one for the PNF and the other for the NMT. And the NMT is not just nerve stretching, it is nerve massage also is there. Nerve sliding is most important. Nerve tensioner will happen in the end range only. But nerve sliding will happen everywhere except the end range. And sliding itself will enable a better transmission of impulses both ways, from a hypertonic muscle to up or from cortex to the hypotonic muscle. Both ways it will help. Hypotonic muscle afferent is less. Efferent is important, okay, to activate that hypotonic muscle. Hypertonic muscle, efferent is out of control. Afferent only we can modify. So that is how we actually target the different directions. So the sliding of the nerve will not be the same for a flaccid or a hypotonic muscle to a spastic or a hypertonic muscle. It's the same muscle even then. And the task of reaching out is different from task of picking up a glass. Because picking up a glass, we use flexion. For that flexion, whether you need musculocutaneous nerve for biceps or you need inhibition of the triceps radial nerve. That is clinical decision making, for which only we have courses to identify which nerve to target first. So see that in our the NeuroREHABCon that also demonstration also we were highlighting this. But more in-depth learning happens whenever you are having a relationship with reality. So you have apply something in reality, discuss, learn, then we learn better and better. And then after 6 months, you will see that more better neurorehab approach will come. That is the duty towards knowledge that we have as physical therapists, right? So I don't think there were anything in the chat after that. Okay. So right. Any summative points, Krishna, you wanted to clarify?
No, sir, that's it, sir.
Yes.
You are very clear explaining about things. And it was right to the point. I think I couldn't agree more. That's the thing, sir.
Okay.
really very happy because what AOMPT can really open the doors to many possibilities. Thank you so much, sir, for this opportunity. Also, Rita ma'am and Krishna ma'am.
We'll also hear from our Dr. Chaitanya. Madam, yes.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you so much, Krishna sir. You have presented in a very a detailed manner. I went back to my BPT days where you have highlighted all the points about the PNF and a review about the PNF from the starting, and also the how it is implemented in the neuromanual therapy also. It was really a very fantastic session, and the videos which have created how we can teach to the patients, not only for the stroke patient, to all the other Parkinson patients also who is very low in their things. So it will be a rejuvenating therapy for the patients, what I understand from this. So we can also incorporate all these techniques in that neurological patients, and also even the patients with neural problems also. Oh, so one thing which I want to admit here is when I was a child, one of my relatives who got so obese and after the delivery, and she was suffering from the pain of I can say sciatica. So one of our old person told, after a few days you go and swim, so the pains will come down for at least a week. So now I can relate that how our Indian thinking is very far other than the Western things which they told neurodynamics only a few years back, and the knowledge about our Indian tradition where if we swim means the nerves gets elongated like a stretch, so that the pain might come down if it is there is no any pathological things in the spine or something. So the same thing which we are learning in our AOMPT, and you told today the practically yes, if you do like this, the radial nerve and whatever it is in the water, so the weight is also not a problem. So things, the nerves can be mobilized easily, self-mobilization. So that was really a fantastic thing which I remembered those things which can be incorporated in our daily patient treatment things, sir. So thank you so much, sir, and thank you so much, ma'am. Ritu ma'am, how she integrated what Krishna sir said and what the NEUROREHABCON, how we can integrate into both the things, which she has given a very clear idea about for me how I understood this. So, and even Darshana ma'am really explained very well about all these things. So I am very blessed to be in this path of AOMPT, though I am walking slowly, but yes, I can definitely reach one day to the place where I can reach. So thank you so much, sir. Over to you, sir.
I got lost in something about swimming. Of course, not only that, what is called as a body weight effect on the swim or the water, it is like walking on the ground. We have been doing for so many years, so the brain knows that it is a common activity. Suddenly the walking becomes impossible. So the brain, it's stuck, okay? It does not know what to do. So somehow it makes that abnormal sequencing and wants to accomplish that walking. So we as physical therapists, if we promote that abnormal pattern of walking, patient will walk in first 2 days itself. But that it's very difficult to get the normal pattern, or at least an energy efficient pattern. And we do not want a further contracture, further degeneration of the joints if the knee is hyperextending, for example. So a lot of things, abnormal patterns always have their consequences. But inside water, if the subject's normal pattern can be brought, especially I would like to highlight one of the videos shared in Instagram by Dr. Gajanan Balerao. He's an aquatic therapist. He's having his chain of clinics, of course, based at Pune. Sir had shared a video of aquatic treadmill where he's using TheraBand for the hip. And the TheraBand is actually pulling the thigh into hip flexion. Okay. In land, if the subject is walking with partial body weight support, we would have kept the TheraBand from posterior side to pull the hip into extension. Because if the TheraBand pulls the femur or the thigh into extension, flexors will be activated, okay, during the gait training. That is in land. But in water, he has used the TheraBand to pull anteriorly only. So thigh is pulled anteriorly into flexion only, and it is activating the flexors. And the subject is having a normal progression of that flexion, hip flexion in the gait training, rather than the circumdatory or the vaulting. Okay, so both the sides. So it was amazing to see that it was actually functional neuromuscular stability training, and it was incorporated in the aquatic treadmill. And I had appreciated him that yes, he has incorporated both together. Of course, when he put the video itself, he has tagged me, okay, the AOMPT. I think it is through our interactions or through our videos. And the clinician is incorporating that. He has not done the courses. He's also another resource person. But he's incorporating it and he's tagging us. And he's happy to discuss on Instagram, okay, which people see only for the reels. And, you know, there are a lot of attractive things in Instagram. Okay. Dance videos and photographs. Okay. Celebrities. So people put also clinicians, please, patient videos, if you are putting means eyes or face fully black, no identity of the patient should be revealed. Okay, do not use the patients for marketing. That is also happening in Instagram. So what is important here is to recognize the role of combining these two, seeing their fundamental philosophical background of a PNF, background of course, neuromanual therapy is very simple. And you see that how well we can integrate both for the functional training, whether it is on land or aquatic, whether it is with body weight support or without body weight support. Okay. So explore even for half kneeling also, or kneeling positions also, body weight support will help. If the subjects have imbalance in the external and the internal obliques, so definitely partial body weight support will have better effect on half kneeling. Okay, what we had in the conclave, the NEUROREHABCON demonstrations. Aquatic therapy, you can use for standing onwards. If you want to use it for kneeling, that is also possible. Depends on the setup. You can always explore. So, yes, Ritu ma'am told that this is the last presentation of NEUROREHABCON. It never becomes any last. Okay, it is a lasting presentation. Okay, long-lasting presentation. What Dr. Krishna has done, and we ensure that excellence has to last forever. It should not be the last priority. It should be lasting forever. Okay, so feel free to interact, take more sessions, come up with your clinical queries on patients, and we will have interactive webinars, which will all be part of the stroke NEUROREHABCON only. Okay, don't think that stroke NEUROREHABCON is over. Okay, and we, Ritu ma'am as convener, will stay forever. Whatever stroke, whatever NEUROREHABCON is coming. Okay, and because the actual conclave and workshop, which I always tell, is a lifetime one, which is a learning forever. Okay, Darshana, I think you will agree with this. Okay, and we can, right?
Absolutely.
So we will conclude this session.
Yes, sir.
Wishing Dr. Krishna the best of luck. He has done definitely a commendable effort amidst all his commitments now parallelly that he is going through. And what he should more concentrate on in his presentation is a bit of a confidence, bit of a trial. Speak, record your lecture, watch it. Of course, watching this video recording will help you, so that your flow is, it is optimal speed. It is actually slower side, okay, when you are talking. Sometimes when we are listening, we need to stand and then see that, yes, you will come to that, then we'll continue listening. Okay, so it's too slow when you talk. So see that it should come extempore. You will develop confidence more and more as you do, because content should give you the confidence, and watch your own video recording will give 10 times better confidence, okay, when you do. And you have done effort to record the video. To the model, was he his father, your father? Okay, so
Looking very
so he was also part of your sessions and your preparation. He will feel very happy that son is not even completed BPT, is just in his internship, and he's giving lecture, and he's got award. Okay, so one fact here is, it does not matter whether it is a newly developed technique or 100 years old technique. Okay, technique has to be effective for functional recovery for the patient. Same way, speaker or resource persons, it is just about their passion to explore, expand the perspective and knowledge, by relating it with other things, by improvising it with a deeper understanding, and which makes the global purpose of knowledge excellence, empowerment towards excellence. Okay, so that is what is important, and that your presentation has served the purpose. So God bless you, and keep getting better and better, because getting better is, it's a long journey. Okay, and you will definitely cherish every milestone that you achieve. Yeah, so stay blessed. Yes, Ritu ma'am, final words.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much that your last the explanation about all the PNF and then NMT, how and where we can utilize. It was just like that after taking a food, we take the sweet dish. Without taking a sweet dish, our fulfillment of hunger is never complete. So the same thing that you have added.
In Punjabi dinner, it is lassi.
Exactly. Yes. So the thing that you have added the points, definitely, that's why we always say whatever how many times we learn about the neuromanual therapy, but in the starting or in between the discussion or interaction, you add something new, which give us completely a full confidence that yes, we know that where we have to use the PNF or where we can use the NMT, or according to the symptoms of the patient, that how we can utilize it. So this is the thing which you have added in the last, has given us a more confidence that yes, we are going in a completely a right way. We can add, we can integrate, and we can mix some techniques, and then we can apply on the patient, either whatever the technique is, either the PNF or the NMT. But yes, when we combine both the things, we are applying the PNF in the way of the nerves neurodynamic position itself. So that gives a best result for the patient. So there is nothing can be stopped in between the patient treatment, because we have so many options. If we cannot reach from this side, we can take the U-turn and again go either from the myofascial side or from the nerve side. Like that Krishna sir has already mentioned that we cannot reach, that there is no connection between that. So but the nerves have they are just like a dawn, they have a full connection in the body all over the system, so we can reach through that also. So this is the way we learn about the nerves. So we always say that nerves are very notorious, so for catching them we have to do so many techniques so that we can utilize them. So that techniques are only comes from the neuromanual therapy. And with the neuromanual therapy, yes, there are so many agents which sir has already explained in a very right manner, that we can, for the nerve also, we can utilize ISTM, we can utilize the taping or the cupping, screw cupping also. Even we can use the fascia gun, or if there is we can utilize the rigid taping also for taking the functional movement of the patient. So these are the things which we are learning from AOMPT. Is definitely these all techniques are completely a precious things which we are learning. So there is a no comparison there. Sometimes there is a option or there is a choice. So what we are going through, we are opting, we are going towards the option or what is our choice. So both are the different things, but it's our duty that what we follow. Either our choice is yes, we want to learn from the best academy, or we have an option, we can go here and there, and after that taking so many things and then taking U-turn and come back to that particular place. So this is you and all the participants who are there. It's your thinking that you think AOMPT as your option or you think AOMPT as your choice. So it's your decision, whatever you want to take your destiny in a smooth way. Because as a physiotherapist, it's my role, it's my duty for betterment of my patient. So for betterment of my patient, what is my inside duty is that to learn best or to give the best. So this is the thing which we are learning from AOMPT. Not only I will say the neuromanual therapy, all the approaches which we are learning from AOMPT is the completely a patient-centered approach. There is no any approach which will worsen your patient symptoms. Although there are some people, the patient comes from the different, taking the different treatment from other therapists and they worsen their symptom. But according to that, only the patient-centered approach, we recover them again. We try to take them back on their track. So this is the main aim of AOMPT. So don't think twice or thrice, take the courses, upgrade yourself and go through this, all the approaches. Whatever the field you want to upgrade yourself, you can take that, because in AOMPT, you just name it and all the courses are here and you can upgrade yourself. So there is a variety of full basket of fruits that you can pick it and fulfillment of your hunger. So thank you everyone, and thank you again, the Krishna sir. Your passion for will be, I think there is an appreciation from all of us that you have made it very nice presentation. And thank you, sir. Because of you, we all are together. Because of you, we are learning. And Darshana ma'am, she is always with me, that we both learn together. And definitely we enjoy every session with togetherness of our classes. So thank you, ma'am, also. And thank you, Krishna sir, and all the other participants who all are present there. They can definitely, they have to cherish this essence of AOMPT to upgrade their self. So thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Good luck to all. Bye-bye.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye, ma'am. Bye,
Bye,
Chaitanya.
ma'am. Bye, Krishna, sir. Thank you, everyone.